Okay, we'll go ahead and call the special water board meeting to order. Today's date is March 31st, 2021. First item is adoption of the agenda. I have no additions to the agenda, so if there's none others, I'll entertain a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Motion made by Larry, or a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Philip. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Agenda stands approved. We only have one item on the agenda, that is discussion of water bond and engineering consultant. We have Laura Felipe with Lockmuller Group, and we have Andy S. with Lockmuller Group. They would like to fill us in on some of the bond things, along with the engineering consultant. So, Andy or Laura, who do you want to go first? All right.
You.
The contract, an updated version of the agreement was emailed out today. I do have an extra paper copy here. I know Gary's got his. Philip, if you want to see a paper copy, here it is.
No, I'll pass.
Okay. Well, you got one in your email, but if anybody wants it, it's available.
I have one also, Phil.
And
Yeah, I'll take it.
yeah, there you go, double-sided. And then I also gave you a schedule, or not a schedule, a bond. I guess you call it a schedule. But
Well, what, yeah.
yeah, I've estimated. So you have both of those. So Andy, the floor is yours, sir.
Okay. Well, this, I don't know if everybody's got this paper.
For sure.
That shows the original, that was finalized in the bond document. We worked with them for, I don't know, probably 6 months ago, maybe even further back than that, when we started developing the project for this bond, worked with Brent. We sat down and went through the project list, and the project listed here is what was settled on before closing on that bond. And they were basically the water main from the water treatment plant to the 10th Street tank, and then the water main from the Hoosier Heights booster station to Boundary Way, and then the water meters. There was some additional stuff we talked about under additional project funding, which I think some of it was the filter media. Seemed like there was one other thing.
The tower.
Was it the tower?
I don't recall ever discussion on the tower.
I don't
You
know.
did.
But that was where the base of the bond, and then down below you can see where we originally, we estimated for engineering fees and inspection costs, $750,000. So that was all budgeted in the bond originally. And since then, I've had, I don't know what you've seen all of them, but we've had several iterations of our contract, the scope. We've had added stuff in, we've taken stuff out. This latest iteration, we sat down with Brent and the mayor, and we went through and make sure we got the scope items correct. So we got the original 2 projects for the water main, from the water plant to the 10th Street tank. We've got the Hoosier Heights, the water main from Hoosier Heights to Boundary Way. Those are 2 original projects that were in the bond. And then additional projects, rehab of the outside of the 10th Street tank, and including the logo. And then there's an extra block of water main, 12-inch water main on Mozart Street from 6 to 7. So those are 2 new items that weren't originally accounted for. But we've got that in there now. And we talked, Brent was mentioning about maybe holding back on one of the water main projects and maybe doing it later, because there's a lot going on, and it gets people up when you got multiple projects going on. But we talked at the last meeting that there's some efficiencies by designing all of them together, and also depending on construction, you're going to get better bid prices if you got more footage of pipe, so the prices come down. So we were talking about maybe doing some kind of phasing of the construction, so we could do water main down to the tank first, and then start the painting of the tank, and probably could start the other water main after that point. But somewhat kind of spread that out a little bit. But by doing it together, it helps, reduce our costs on the engineering side and helps reduce your construction costs. So the fee we've got in there, we've got the design fees and it's got inspection in there now. So the total fee there is $554,000, and there's budgeted. Not that you want to spend all that if you have to, but it's budgeted for $750, so we've come in quite a bit under what the original budgeted price. Plus we've got an additional scope of work added in there.
Well, but the inspection fees are on top of that.
No, that includes the inspection fees.
In your contract?
Yes. The inspection fee's set up on an hourly basis, but we've got a not to exceed of 200,000. If you add that into those other numbers, the total is 554.
Okay, gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha.
We separate it because if you don't use, if the construction gets over sooner or something, we don't use those hours, then we don't bill you for it. But there's a lot of, early on, just to help development of the bond, doing some construction cost estimates and working with Brent, working out the details of the scope. So, there was some early upfront work, but
I guess one thing, and I just want to chime in here too, without the assistance and help of Lockmuller Group in applying to get these bonds, they had helped us, we wouldn't have been able to get the bonds. We had to have it.
I understand.
I didn't quite get all that at the beginning. I didn't explain it to you all well, so that's my fault there for not explaining that process.
But that's what they do, right?
Do what?
That's what they do, that's what these companies do, they help us get the bond.
Yeah, they do, and that's where,
They did a lot of pre-development engineering work
they gave us the numbers to go into that.
in
Yeah,
order to develop the
Right,
the
schedule.
bond issue. Yeah, I didn't understand that.
I didn't explain that well, so that's why I owe it to, that's my mistake of not.
Well, and I know, Larry, when you asked the question about whether this needed to be bid, I could have expanded on it, because I said it's a professional services contract and it doesn't need to bid. That's legally accurate, that's exactly true. We don't have to bid for
Yeah.
professional services contracts. We
Yeah.
can negotiate with any contractor we want for those types of services, which the engineering included. I didn't point out the fact that we were already substantially down the path on this engineering project because a lot of the preliminary work is already done. So it's kind of, sure, I answered the literal legal question, but I didn't point out that, you kind of danced with the one that brung you.
Yeah.
Did we-
That's kind of the situation we're in with Lockmuller Group on this.
We didn't know that they were doing preliminary work though, did we?
I did not say that way, so that's my, yeah.
They were brought into the process, I think actually, if you want to say directly brought in, and Andy can correct me if I'm wrong, by Ice Miller at this point, because Ice Miller and Bond Council was the ones that engaged their services to do this. Now, part of that, and this is from my discussions with Bond Council, was that John Gregg and the various Heather, names escape me right now, the council that I was dealing with on this, they knew that Tell City had this relationship with Lockmuller Group, that they had done so many of our engineering projects in the past, and I don't think it was ever one of those, who will we pick versus who already knows Tell City. That's kind of how the whole thing happened in terms of how Ice Miller reached out to Lockmuller Group. We've done a lot of these type of things with Ice Miller, and Ice Miller knew who we worked with in the past. Let's work with the same people. That's how that kind of decision got made. So I frankly, I don't think it's certainly legally not inappropriate, but on a personal level, my personal opinion, I think that's the appropriate way to handle that type of situation.
And now that I understand it, I don't have as much problem with the contract with Lockmuller as I did, but I still got some questions over the project
Sure.
itself. And the budget that we were given, I jotted a note on this when we talked about it. I think this was based on, I don't know if it was ordinance 1172, did we adopt an ordinance on this?
Yes, we
We
would
adopted an
have.
ordinance with the bond, I don't know what the
Okay.
ordinance is.
Yeah.
The budget we were given has water main from water treatment plant to 10th Street water tank, $1 million. Water main from Hoosier Heights booster station to Boundary Way, $1 million. The AMI meter system, $1.75 million. And additional project funding, $419,000. Then construction contingencies. There's nothing in this, and we may have discussed it. I've slept a few times since then, but I don't remember discussing the painting of a water tank. Does it
Well,
mean?
we use the word rehabilitation of water towers, the word we use. Maybe that's where the painting, they told me to not use the word painting when we were
Okay.
going through all that, so.
Okay.
And the only reason I don't want to say I'm adamant about painting it, but the water tower's never been painted since it was built, and I just don't want us to come up 10 years from now, 5 years, have to paint it and not have the funds to do it. That's my concern.
I understand that, and I went by and looked at it, and
Sooner than later.
sooner than later, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I agree with that, okay. Are we far enough along in the AMI meter system to know, are we gonna be able to do that project?
We are
Or
very-
what's quoted in, or
They're
what's
not
present?
part of that. We're doing the engineering, or I guess you call it the specs, on our own, in-house. So we're ready to actually bid that like soon.
Are we gonna be within what we've got budgeted?
Yeah, I think so, Brent. We got 1.7 budgeted. I think we'll be well with it because sewer will be paying some towards that, wastewater, because their meters and our meters, so we're good.
Well, that's another thing I wanted to ask about, because in the original budget that I had, when we discussed this, we were showing a contribution from sewer for the AMI meter system of 583,000. 583.3.
Yeah, it's like a third or something like that. I don't remember.
Okay. Well,
What
that's
you gotta
up,
keep in
that's
mind
up.
though, Larry, is that if we let this
Which
bids
I don't like.
and everybody's over budget, we don't have to accept those bids, we can reject them all.
Well, but we've now increased the contribution from the sewer department by nearly $300,000. I mean, the question is, does the sewage department have that amount of money to do it?
Yeah, they've got a good reserve, but it's their cash register also. So we're still negotiating those amounts on the sewer side, how much they're going to contribute. I don't have that answer for that yet. I mean, I just don't.
Don't you think we need to see how much this is going to cost before we can even do that?
Well, and I think that's kind of where we're at. Once it gets bid, then we'll
You
decide.
can't finalize
how
anything until you know what it's gonna cost.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
We talk about having to pay a third or half
Larry.
of whatever the actual cost
You
is.
could, you could finalize a percentage contribution agreement between
Yeah.
the water and sewer.
But we're very close to having her to bid that before too long. I mean, within weeks, I would say. Wouldn't you, Brent? Sounds fair?
yeah, we're supposed to be going over that spec sheet this weekend.
Yeah. So that's how close we are.
Then we can start back.
Okay.
And Jeff gets to review that before, trust me.
Yeah.
Just
Tomorrow, I hope.
one other quick question. On the new water main from the treatment plant to the water tank, do you take out the old water line?
Well, actually, you can come and look at this one. It's actually gonna, we're adding one. So there's gonna be a 12-inch and a 16-inch. So it's gonna have 2 feet to that tank, so it can basically never go dry. It'll have two ways to fill it. In case we have something go wrong here, it's always gonna be a stable full, be full. That makes sense, Brett?
Yeah, we're not replacing, we're adding.
Right.
We're building redundancy, which is something the city has never had.
It's kind of a loop.
Okay.